Well, the Lightning fell to the Islanders once again for the third time this season in a shootout. Injury woes continue for the Bolts, and tonight, another Battle of Florida. We will talk about it here today on Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Lightning. So much to talk about on today's show. Nick is not here today, but that is totally okay. We're still going to talk Lightning hockey. But before we begin, I want to mention today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. All right, guys, it's been tough with the Islanders. Let me tell you, the Lightning, they've struggled against this team. And look, I think they actually played a pretty solid game. I do. I believe that wholeheartedly. This was a close one. And the Bolts showed resilience as well, right? Like, Isles start off 2-0 in the first, and it's a pretty even fought period. And I thought JoJo looked pretty solid. I didn't think he, didn't play well or anything like that. But unfortunately, first period was tough. You give up 2 goals, you kind of fall behind, and it looks like maybe it's going to be a struggle of a game. But then you battle back in the second, and the Lightning have 17 shots on goal to the Islanders 1. And none go in, or one goes in, rather. Darren Radish stays hot. And we've been really hyping Radish up lately. I think we got to continue this because he's been on a tear. And it was a power play goal as well from Kuch and Gensel. Just a brilliant play, and game kind of turns, right? It's 17 shots to 1. It's 2-1 game. You're going into the third. And again, another even fought period. Bolts end up battling back, and JJ Moser puts one in from Kuch and point. And all of a sudden it's 2-2. They go to overtime, stays even, and then they fall in the shootout. Let's talk about some of the specifics of this game. I thought the Lightning played actually pretty solid. I didn't think they did anything too terribly to lose this game. I thought, especially given all the stuff going on with this team, this was a good game. Fun one to watch. Out hit the Islanders 27-19. Only gave the puck away 8 times. Something that has kind of changed for the Lightning. We saw in the early on in this season that they were giving the puck away far too much. A lot of careless plays. Blind passes, poor entry to the offensive zone, bad breakouts. But lately, over the last several, very few giveaways. Very intelligent with the puck. The team looks a lot more conservative and thought and thinking about their plays, rather. 8 giveaways is great. And 6 takeaways to the Islanders 4. And I said this the last time they played the Islanders. Lots of blocked shots by the Isles. 20 blocked shots in this game by the Islanders. And that's pretty remarkable considering the Bolts had 34 shots on goal. If you want to add those up, that's 54 shots. Almost, 20 of those 54 are blocked by Isles. And that's just, you got to give kudos to the Islanders team, right? I mean, you're sacrificing your body. I said this on the last matchup with this team. This is a great defensive team. And they're willing to, pay the price of pain to stop some shots hitting their goalie. And look, they have an insane goalie too. Ilya Sorokin, excellent goaltender. Islanders, they pulled this win out. And I think, on paper, you would look at it and say, wow, how did the Lightning not win this with 17 shots to 1 in the second? But they really did play a strong game. They converted on one of the power plays, right? We talked about the Darren Radish goal already. And they looked fairly sharp. I really didn't think there was anything to complain about in this game outside of, you lost. That being said, I want to do plus minus. My plus in this game goes to Braden Point. He looks like a new man, does he not? I mean, I think lately he has just looked sharp and like himself. We haven't really seen that this season until he returned from his injury. but he's looked great. And he picked up an assist in this game on the JJ Moser goal, which is massive. It continues his point streak. And he really has looked a lot better than he did previously prior to injury. That, brings him up to 5 points in the last 3 games. That is Braden Point caliber hockey. And I'm happy to see that. 3 shots on goal. He did take a penalty, but nonetheless, great game, 22 shifts, which is the most shifts he's had since November. He looked good out there. So Braden Point gets my plus for staying hot, playing a solid game, and continuing his point streak. I think, again, he needs this. He needs to revert to his full form, and it really does look like he's on that path. But that brings me to my negative in this game. And what that is difficult. Because look, I want to add to my plus before I go into the minus, because there are a lot of pluses in this game in my mind as well. I thought, Radish continued his hot streak, right? He picked up a goal. He deserves, a little bit of a shout out. He skated 28 minutes in this game. It's a hefty amount of time to skate in the NHL in one game. So very remarkable by him. I think my minus for this game, it's got to just be discipline. And the reason I say that is because this game begins on a power play goal, and it's early on. It's early on. Braden Point takes that penalty, that first penalty, 1 minute and 12 into this game, right? And that's just not something that you want to do to start a game of any kind. It's just not how you win games. You want to stay smart. You don't want to be the first one to take a penalty and provide a power play to the opposing team. But Braden Point does commit an interference. And then they kind of get lucky because Shabanov hooks Hagel, and it kind of it knocks off that power play, and kind of gives the Bolts a 30-second power play. But then you go again into the box. Dastu takes a hooking, and again it just gives the Isles back that power play. And discipline is really key in this game, because ultimately Schaefer does end up scoring on the power play from Duclair and Barzell. And Schaefer is a deadly player, a rookie that, has been on our radar, and we've talked about him on this show. But discipline is not good in the beginning of this game, specifically. Not smart to, 1, take a penalty so early on, 2, have it kind of evened out, and then take another one almost immediately after that. Specifically, it was 26 seconds later, you go back into the box, Dastu. Just not what you want to do, not how you beat teams of any caliber, and certainly not how you want to start a game by providing a power play goal in that way. Which is funny to say, because then in the second period, the Islanders take 4 penalties. And again, you take 17 shots on goal. You got to convert on those. So not wonderful. And then in the third, Dastu takes another one. So I think Dastu's got to clean up his discipline a little bit specifically. And then just the team as a whole needs to be a little smarter in the first. Just you can't let a team start off with momentum on the power play. It's just kind of how it goes, unfortunately. But look, on the bright side, Lightning pick up a point here, right? I mean, they were down in this game 2-0. They fought back. They showed resilience. And ultimately, they picked up a point in a game where maybe it didn't look like they were going to. So I think they deserve a little bit of a shout out for that. So again, not all bad. I think this was a solid game. It was a fun game to watch. And the only truly disheartening thing is now you are season swept by the Islanders. You fall 3-0 to them this season, and there is not another matchup with this team. So, I mean, that's good and bad. 1, it's good because you don't see them again. 2, it's bad because, I mean, you don't want to get swept by any team, right? I mean, that's just not what you want to do, but that's okay. Can't win them all, and it is what it is. Unfortunately, more injuries kind of piling up, and some injury news to talk about, and we'll talk about it when we come back from break. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday? How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. You just use Indeed. And when it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. And I've been in that spot where you need the right hire like yesterday and the pressure's on, and every day without the right person is a setback. And that's just reality. That's exactly when Indeed sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions do apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Welcome back to Locked On Lightning. Oof. Guys, I'm pretty tired of talking about the injury news with this team. It's difficult to stomach sometimes, right? I mean, Vasilevsky was reported earlier, much earlier, on the 12th of December, rather, that, there was a chance he was coming back today to play against the Cats, and he was going to be in net. And I kind of looked at that and said, awesome. Vasi's back. We're getting some people back. Obviously, we talked about Hedman going to injured reserve, but yeah, Vasilevsky coming back, and I'm hyped. And then today at 11:55, we hear that unfortunately he will not return, and his timeline has been pushed back. He hasn't played since December 2nd, and the Lightning are 2-3-1 in the last 6 without him, which, I really don't, it's not JoJo. It's not, I don't want to hear the JoJo slander, but Vasi has been sharp as of late until this injury. But right now the Lightning have him as hopeful to return before Christmas. So we will not see him in net tonight against the Cats. Pretty unfortunate news for the Bolts, right? I mean, you want your star goaltender back in net as soon as possible, but at the same time, you want him healthy before he returns. You don't want to keep piling on these injuries, and that's just how it goes. So I'd rather him get healthy before he comes back and re-injures himself. That's just the smarter play. The Lightning have looked sharp regardless. JoJo has played very well, and he's not allowed many goals. He's looked very, very good. So I don't think it's a concern for sure. Obviously a concern, but right now I think this team is capable of winning games without Vasilevsky. And tonight is a difficult test. And let me just remind you that last season, JoJo did start against the Cats in one game and he shut them out. So let's have a little confidence in Jonas Johansson, because he's not a bad goaltender by any means, but it is difficult to see that Vasi was looking to return maybe today and will not. And they are hopeful he will return before Christmas. Continuing on the injury train, Emil Lilleberg. We heard today at 11:39 that unfortunately Lilleberg is on the injured reserve. So he will be out at least 1 week. And we've kind of talked a lot about Lilleberg on the show. We kind of started the season a little upset with him, with the discipline. He used to take a ton of penalties, make some silly plays, a little questionable decisions, but he's looked very sharp lately. He has. He's been a strong defenseman for this team recently. He deserves a lot of credit for improving his discipline and looking much better on the ice and providing this team a solid defender to help win games. But unfortunately, again, he's been placed on the injured reserve. He only played 13:30 ice time against the Islanders. And yeah, now we will see him sit for at least 1 week before he can return. And that doesn't mean he is back in 1 week. It just means at the minimum, he is sitting for a full week. Difficult loss again for the Lightning. We know how banged up this defense is. I mean, do I need to remind y'all? It's Mcdonagh. Now it's Lilleberg. You got Hedman on the IR, and Cernak is still out. Right now, Cernak is still week to week as far as we know. That's the latest reported news, but those are massive blows to the defense. Again, difficult to stomach. But look, positives of this are that, we've seen Braden Point sit out for a long time and the Lightning still were okay. And he comes back and he looks excellent. So I wouldn't be overly concerned. I think these guys are all going to come back and look strong. It'll take them a few games to adjust, but that's okay. But the defense is severely banged up right now. And it's difficult because we've talked a lot on this show again about how there's just so much lineup shuffling. It's just very difficult as a coaching staff, really, to manage this type of blow to your team. And it's not just one blow, it's several. And that's very difficult to manage. So I expect the defensive pairings tonight and for the foreseeable future. We got Moser with Radish, Dastu with Crozier, and Carlile with Santini. And I'm not upset about that. I think, again, Radish has looked excellent. He's really been the star guy on this team on the defense for the last several weeks. Moser is that shutdown guy that's paired with him, and we've talked about that. It's a great pairing. One is very offensive-minded. The other is very defensive-minded, and together they are everything. Dastu started this season when he did get called up. He started excellently, and he looked so sharp and like a great defenseman, and he still does, but he has had a little bit of discipline issues, and he hasn't hit the score sheet a ton as of late. And then he's paired with Crozier, who has also dealt with some injuries. Hopefully he's healthy enough that he will not have any type of re-injury, and he's there to stay, because I think Crozier is an excellent defenseman, always have. And him with Dastu, I like that pairing a lot. I really do. I think, they are both very well-rounded defensemen who are kind of capable of everything, and you're not going to get the offense that you're seeing from Radish from these two guys, I don't think, but I'd rather them be shutdown defensemen than anything. I think that's the most important thing. Your offense on this team is so powerful that you really don't need a ton of scoring from the defense, and we're still getting it, obviously, from Radish, and these guys have stepped up and scored key points as well. But it's not critical that they do, I don't think. Just need to shut down their guys, take some sticks, take guys out of the play, clear the front of the net, and break out cleanly, and keep staying consistent with lack of giveaways. They've been really smart with the puck, and that's very important. I think that's got to continue. And then this third pair, we've seen a handful of times, Carlile and Santini, both reliable guys, getting some time in the big league now because of all these injuries. And I hope that contributes to their game and they can develop further. And they also look like Dastu, they kind of, I'm not going to say they come out of nowhere like Dastu did, but they're coming up and proving themselves and building confidence in their games, and really building upon being a third pairing for this team, because we're running out of defensemen and it's tough out here. Lilleberg to the IR is arguably one of the worst things that could have happened to this team, I think, defensively, and not because of who he is, but rather, another defenseman just in general. And that's tough because you have 4 of them like long-term out right now. And that's not ideal, obviously, for any team. And you're going to have these new guys step up and play big games and really take their guys and really stay strong positionally to stay effective and give the offense a chance to score some goals and help JoJo, because again, Vasi is out. So to help JoJo stay strong and build a confidence in his game, which he has, I would argue, has been doing himself, and the defense has helped him a ton, but JoJo's look sharp in my eyes. And, these 6 guys need to step it up and make sure they're really helping JoJo out back there, because this is a big change for this team to have 4 key starting defensemen out of this roster right now. So we'll talk about that more, and give you updates as we see them. I mean, it's difficult. There's so many to keep track of at this point, right? But it is what it is. And I do believe this team is so powerful that it's not going to matter too much, but we'll see down the stretch here before the Christmas and holiday break, what's going to happen. And if they can stay strong and build some momentum going into break, because I think that would be pretty important. And then they have time for a lot of these guys to heal, which again is key, because you want them to come back strong and healthy. You want to avoid re-injury and, hope for the best. So tonight, big game, Battle of Florida. We're going to talk about that when we come back. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. And that's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. And with FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. So every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment, that's all bettable. And live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. So they have live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. And it keeps you locked in to every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Welcome back to Locked On Lightning. Guys, let's talk about Battle of Florida pregame. This is a huge game tonight. I'm excited to watch this one. A home game, I believe, yes. And huge, right? I mean, we all know the Battle of Florida is something special, and it has been for the last few years. Season series right now, Lightning are up 1-0. They won the previous matchup with this team on November 15th. They won by a score of 3-1. 3 matchups remaining. The second one is tonight, again at 7 p.m. at Club BMI. So if you're going to the game, I hope you have a great time. It should be really exciting. This is one of the best matchups in the NHL, in my opinion. It's going to be a fun one. So make sure you either are at the game or are watching the game, because this is one I don't think any of us want to miss. That being said, let's dive into some of the key details of this game tonight. As I had mentioned earlier, a lot of lineup shuffling going on with this squad, a lot of which is due to injury, as we just discussed. For defense, it looks like they are starting Moser and Radish on the first, Dastu and Crozier on the second, and Carlile and Santini on the third. Tonight, looks like the first line is going to be Hagel, Sorelli, Cooch. Second line, Gensel, Point, Bjorkstrand. Third line is Girgensons, Gord, and Holmberg. And lastly, I want to talk about this a little bit. The fourth line is Curtis Douglas, Nick Paul, and Scott Sabrin, which I want to talk about this line a little bit because it's kind of spicy, right? I mean, first of all, we know what Curtis Douglas is. He's really a scrapper enforcer. So, he slots in tonight. Sabrin I thought he's been excellent for this team lately. I really do. I actually really love Sabrin. He's grown on me so quickly over the last several games. He's sharp. He's physical. He'll stand up for guys. He's great. And he's a 33-year-old too. And in 6 games, he does have a goal and 2 assists. He's thrown hands. He's a battler. And I love seeing him out there. I do. He's an emotional guy as well, which kind of fits in with the vibe of some of the guys on this team. We know how emotional guys like Cooch and Hagel, both such emotional players. And Sabrin to me is one of those types of players. And I love that about him. Now to have Douglas, Sabrin, and Paul on the same line, these are some big gentlemen. 3 big gentlemen on the fourth line. This is a beat up line. I love it. And I hope that they can gel and look like a competitive fourth line. And I don't think they'll struggle. I don't. I really like that line. Now let me talk a little bit about them slotting Curtis Douglas in, the 25-year-old. Tonight, Gage Gonzalez and Dominic James are healthy scratches, which is very interesting. Very, very interesting. We've talked a little bit recently about how in our eyes, Gage has underperformed. I actually expected a lot from him this season. He looked very sharp at the end of last year. He had some points in the playoffs, and I thought he was one of the better Bolts by the end of last season. And I really expected him to take a huge step forward this season, and unfortunately, that just has not been the case. So pulling him out for this game is something that I don't think is unreasonable. And that hurts me to say because I really like Gage Gonzalez. I think he's a guy that gives you 100 every shift. But unfortunately, he will be healthy scratch tonight alongside Dominic James, who has also looked very sharp. But again, a new guy who is learning and developing still to this day, and that's okay. But he's going to sit tonight. He and Gonzalez, they're going to sit, and that's how Sabrin and Curtis Douglas are going to get in there. So we'll see how these guys perform tonight against a tough Florida team. I think a little bit of that might be coaching, right? Because we know how physical these games get in the Battle of Florida. So maybe having Sabrin and Curtis Douglas out there is more of a protector move than a diss to Gage, or a discipline thing to Gage, or a discipline thing to Dominic James, or whatever that could be perceived as. That might not even be the logic. The logic might be, you know what? You two take a break tonight. We're going to send out the big boys because we know who we're playing, the Florida Panthers, and we're going to have some rough stuff go on, and we'd rather you guys stay healthy and safe, and we'll put out the big boys for now. And that's not an unreasonable decision to make in my mind. I think it kind of accomplishes both things. Have these two guys sit and look at their game a little bit and kind of take a look from a different perspective off the ice, and watch the team and take a little bit to think about their own game. And also, again, to keep them a little bit safe from the Cats while also allowing your team to slot in some scrappier guys for this type of matchup. So that, again, really fully support that. Don't think it's unreasonable by any means. This game specifically, let's talk about that a little bit. Sam Bennett in the last 5 has 8 points. Verhaeghe has 4 goals in his last 5, and Reinhardt has 5 assists in his last 5. They're kind of heating up a little bit lately. Scary because, Florida's a good team when they need to be. That being said, on the inverse side, Lightning, Cooch, 8 points in his last 5 games. Radish, 4 goals in his last 5 games. Loving Radish right now. And again, Cooch, 7 assists in his last 5. Some of these guys are heating up on both sides of the ice, so it's going to be a spicy one in my mind. Last 10 games, both of these teams are 5-4-1. But in the last 5, the Cats have won 4, and the only loss they have is to the hottest team in the league, the Colorado Avalanche, so not an unreasonable loss by any means, but they just toppled Dallas and Utah, and they also beat the Islanders before those two. So again, they're taking down good teams right now, and they can capitalize on a weakened and beat up Lightning team. And I don't expect a bloodbath like we saw in preseason by any means, but I think this is going to be a physical game. That always is between these two teams, and it's going to be interesting to watch. Lightning in their last 5 dropped to the Islanders 2 times, dropped to the Leafs, but did pick up wins against the Devils and the Canadiens, which we saw absolute dominance from this both squad. Be nice for them to embrace that again against the Cats, but we will see. Not an easy feat by any means for any team in this league to beat up on the Cats in any capacity, whether that's goal scoring, physically, whatever. That being said, the Cats are also struggling this season. Obviously, Tkachuk and Barkov are still done for now. We'll see them probably later this season. I think Tkachuk is almost guaranteed to return, after break sometime-ish. But Barkov is, from what I've been reading, done potentially until maybe the end of the season or the playoffs. We'll see. But both these power plays struggling. Lightning 21st in the league, Cats 19th in the league. Not so good. Not so good for either squad. Both of these teams awful on the faceoff dot. 26th place for the Cats, 31st for the Lightning, which is abysmal. Goals for Lightning are in 7th. Not terrible, with 3.25 goals a game on average. Cats not too far behind them in 12th. And then goals against, Lightning, 4th place. Playing some strong defense, especially as of late. Really silencing and nullifying some of these offenses they've been playing. Cats allowing 3.16 goals a game right now. Not something we're used to seeing from this Panthers team. They're very defensive-minded, very strong on defense. So it's a little interesting to see them in 19th in the NHL at goals against. But yeah, these teams are both beat up. 2 huge key players for the Cats remain out. The Lightning missing all their defensemen. Most of them rather. So this is going to be an interesting game. It really is. It's going to be physical. It's going to be, I like the goaltending matchup. JoJo, he's looking to shut them out again like he did last season, but he's matched up with the Sergei Bobrovsky, the incredible goaltender. I'd argue a Hall of Famer potentially. So Yeah, not an easy task for either squad in my mind. This is going to be a battle, and I'm really excited to watch. That being said, the Lightning are favored in this matchup. They are minus 125 odds. Panthers are plus 105, and I would assume that really just comes down to home ice advantage because these are two evenly matched teams, and should be really interesting, as I've said. I'm going to go ahead and do a couple quick predictions before we head out today. I think Radish continues. I think he picks up a point of some kind, whether it's a goal or an assist. I think we're going to see him hit the score sheet. And I think this game hits the over every time. Over is 6.5. So yeah, more than 6 goals. I take that. I think while both these teams have defensive minded styles right now, God, with JoJo in net and the power of the offense of the Lightning, I think this is going to hit the over. Last game, again, it was 3-1, so not the over, but things are changing rapidly for both rosters. So I think a lot of that creates chaos for teams in general. So I think, we might see a fair amount of goals tonight, and I'd hope so. I kind of want this to be a really physical game, really high scoring game. I'm hoping it's like 4-3, something like that, 5-3 with an empty netter for whatever. But it should be exciting. This is one of the best matchups to watch throughout the season. And then in 12 days, December 27th, they actually visit the Cats again. So, we kind of get 2 of these Battle of Floridas in quick succession. So pretty exciting stuff. Hope you guys enjoy the game tonight, and we will see you tomorrow. Nick and I will both be back, and we will be chatting with you about what happened tonight, and we'll discuss everything, and Hot Take Tuesday as well. So we'll see you then on tomorrow's episode. Have a great night. Locked On Lightning. Go Bolts.